7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so we've got the four Stooges, not three. Somehow Evan and Todd got combined to one Stooge, so I don't know how that happened. Real quick, a few housekeeping things. I hope to get your attendance out tomorrow. As you know, we are entering football schedules and volleyball schedules and soccer schedules currently. So if I don't get attendance out this week, please forgive me. I think the schedules right now are a little more important than the attendance, especially so the assigners can start getting you all some games. But with that, if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask these gentlemen. And out of respect for their time and everyone else's time, try to keep your questions relevant to what we're discussing. With that, I'll pass that on to Dana.
Thank you, Nate, and good evening once again, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday night football meeting. I think it's Wednesday. I am losing track. I know I had a couple of officials who tried to log in for last night or tonight's meeting last night, and I know your pain because I have no idea what sport I'm working on half the time, so no worries at all. We want to thank our Southeast region officials who are presenting this evening. If I am correct, they're talking about the kicking game, which is what I said in the email, so hopefully I didn't mislead anybody. But our presenters tonight are Evan Baker, Dwayne Brown, Todd Morris, and Leonard Velasquez. And I don't know, did David have something he wanted to say to get this started, or are we just going to jump right in?
David.
Resino. I don't think so. I think.
Oh, there you
go. Are you ready? Just jump on in. Okay.
All
right.
Here
you go. Let me share my screen. While I'm doing that, I want to kind of share a story that basically, let's see here. There it is. Ken was talking to me about what happened to him. He told me he broke down finally. He was kind of stressed out about this COVID piece and doing all those things, and kind of got to feeling depressed and lows. And he was always disappointing everybody, no matter what he did. And so the doctor was highly sympathetic and really offered support to Ken. But the doctor said, "Man, it must be really hard. I'm glad you came to see me. I can help." Doctor starts writing something on a piece of paper and says, "Go see this address and tell the ophthalmologist that I sent you." So we're going to continue on our Southeast region football officials. We're going to be covering tonight the kicking game, basically the mechanics and keys. Leonard's going to kind of go over kickoffs and kickoff returns and what guys are going to be looking for. Dwayne's going to talk about point after attempts and field goals and some of the keys for that. Evan Baker's going to cover punt and punt return and some of the keys for all of our 5-man crews. And then I'm going to kind of start us off with a little bit of philosophy today. And so as we look, there's us again. Great, huh? Woohoo! All right. So basically our philosophy when we think about the kicking game is what can go wrong will go wrong during the kicking game. So the most important thing you really need to think about as a new official or even a most veteran official, be focused on that play at hand right then, because what happens in the kicking game is always something that makes us all scratch our head and go, what happened and where did it happen at? And the next thing is really moving and trying to officiate is counterproductive. When you think about that, and I'm not just talking about, Dennis and him trying to walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm really talking about processing between your brain and body moving. And that can really hinder what your eyes see. So when we talk about these keys, and we want to get in a good set position when we're observing our keys as the ball's in play and going through. Next thing, you want to keep officiating through the entire play. You know, it's really been a data fact that when a guy throws the flag, he seems to stop for almost 3 seconds. And so when you do that, when you throw your flag, you need to make sure that you continue to follow the play all the way until the end of the down or into the run or into the kick. You know, throwing the flag doesn't mean to stop. So you young officials make sure when it's kind of a habit, you're kind of used to throwing the flag and then you just stop, just like in that other sport, that orange round ball sport, where a whistle blows and everybody stops. That's not what happens here. Look for people with bad intentions. In the kicking game, in a quick turnaround, quick change possession type of situations, you're looking for people that are coming with bad intentions. And we're talking about the blindside block. And when you think about it, it's guys called fish swimming upstream is a terminology we use in a lot of these clinics, is guys headhunting somebody else that is not paying attention. So really, it's normally the off-ball official, and you're going to be looking at the wide range, and you could be all the way across the field and see it, but you know when it's happening because you can kind of see the guy load up and get ready to put a pounding on a kid. The next thing, go slow to go fast. And I kind of use this philosophy in just about everything I do. Make sure that you're going slow before you want to walk before you run. So process the whole play. Think about the advantage, disadvantage at the time, and is it a foul? And so if you can count to yourself in your head 1001, foul, 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 then it probably is a foul. So thinking about that as well. Leonard also brought up a great terminology as well, and maybe something that everybody could start using is start, develop, finish. See the whole play all the way through. The next thing is what they tell us in all levels when we're officiating: stay wide. The closer to the ball you are physically, the narrower your vision is. So make sure you give yourself plenty of space between you and the ball. And just like a head linesman, line judge at the pylon, don't stand on the pylon. Get back away from it so you can see the whole picture. And so staying wide is an important fact. And I know Dwayne's going to talk about that during our point after attempts component. The next thing on a kick, change of possession after a kickoff return, punt return, think about it. The spot does not have to be perfect. Try to start on big lines, only on the beginning of series. Obviously, as you go through the team's series of downs, you're going to keep it normal. But really, when we're talking about change of possessions after kickoffs, punt returns, all of those things, try to start on a big line or a small line, a whole line. So it makes it easier for, number one, the chain crew, and second of all, for our wing officials to know, hey, I've got a good point of indication of I know where the first down is going to be or the line to gain is going to be. All right. And then, always understand and be aware of game situation. When you're late in the game, you're under 2 minutes, a team's down 7 points, you need to be ready for an onside. That could be the time for that. You should be looking for an opportunity for a team to have a fake punt or a fake field goal. You've just got to be aware of the game situation, because it can definitely change the momentum of a game if we're not ready for it and it surprises us. So with all of that philosophy in your brain now, we're going to fill it up with a little bit of a kicking game. Let's see here. Oops. Hold on. There it is. We're going to talk a little bit about kickoff and kickoff return with Leonard Velasquez out of Ruidoso. All right, Leonard, it's all yours, brother.
And real quick, Todd, there's a question in the chat. Are you talking about 5 and 10 yard line or the hash lines to start on?
You can be it now if the ball is in between a yard line and a like the 10 yard line. Like if we're sitting at the 9.5 half, you could put it on the 10, would be just fine, or you start on the 9. You don't want to start on those in-between lines. So you always want to look for the nearest line to start from. That'll be a great indicator to help you there. Hopefully that answers the question on that piece. Is there other parts in the chat that I missed?
No, sir, that was the other one.
All right, awesome. Okay. Leonard.
All right, good evening, gentlemen. Just to start off with, we're going to go over placement of officials on kickoff. And then the next picture we'll show you is placement on an onside kick. But let's go back to the regular. Just remember, referee is going to be at the goal line, in between. This one isn't there, but he's going to be in between the two receivers. And then you got the umpire is going to be at the 20-yard line, opposite the chains, which is press box side. And then you got the line judge has the receiving team at the 50-yard line, which is on the same side as the umpire. And then you go to the opposite side, which is away from press box, chain gang side. You got the head linesman is going to be at the 30-yard line. And then, of course, the back judge is the one that's going to be on the kicking team's 40-yard line, same side as the head linesman. Okay, that's your starting points for 5-man crews. Okay, and then the next slide we got online. If you're going onside, guys, you got to be prepared. All we're going to do is now the back judge and the line judge are going to be with the kicking team at the 40. And then the head linesman and the umpire are going to move up and they're going to be with the receiving team at the 50. And then you got the referee is going to be probably right around 5 yards behind the deepest receiver. And he's going to be wide. He's going to be on the umpire and line judge's side, which is going to be press box side. And he's going to be really wide. This gives you an idea, those nice color codings gives you an idea of exactly your view as to what you should be looking at prior to the kick. Okay. So that gives you regular kickoff and that gives you onside kick positioning in a 5-man crew. Okay. And then now we'll go into what each official looks for before the kick. Okay. The referees, of course, he's lined up in the end zone between hash marks, center of the field. He's going to position head linesman side just a little bit to the head linesman. In 5-man crews now, you're going to be right in the middle. You're going to count the R players. You've got to check positions of other game officials, make sure they're in proper position. And once they give they're ready for play, then you can declare the ball ready for play, sound your whistle, and make sure you have 4 kicker players on both sides of the kicker before you blow your whistle to have him kick off. Okay. Umpire is lined up at the 20, opposite chains, press box side. He's got to make sure players, coaches, subs, and other individuals are in the team box. He's got to count our players as well, and he'll hold his arm up once he's counted players and make sure everyone's in proper position. Then he'll hold his arm up, signaling the referee he's ready for play. Okay. Then we'll go to head linesman is at the 30-yard line, 35-yard line, just depending on where the receivers are lined up is more or less what it's going to be with on the chain side. He's got the coaches, players, and subs in the team box on his side as well. Okay. And he also counts our players, and he'll also hold his arm up once he's ready and ready to go, ready for the ball to be kicked. Okay, now, yes, this year the team box is extending all the way to the 10 as opposed to the 25. Okay, line judge is same side as the umpire. He's at the 50 with the receiving team. He's also got to make sure coaches are and subs and everybody's in their box on up where he's at. He'll position on ours free kick line outside the sideline, opposite head linesman. And he'll temporarily move to the 9-yard marks, count the K players, and then identify the free kick line. He'll tell the back judge he's good. Once they both give their thumbs up to each other, they will both go back to the sidelines and they will be ready to hold their hand up for the referee to signal kick to go. He's got any infractions in case the receivers cross before the kick. So we'll answer that one here in a while, Rosalia. I believe that changed a couple of years ago with the umpire switching off with the line judge. The line judge is now with the receiving team and the umpire is down at the 20. Okay, back judge. He's got the most things to do, it seems like, but he's got the ball. He'll be there at in the middle of the field waiting for the kicker to come out. And you know what you should normally do before the game, more often than not, the kicker, if you find the kicker, ask him, do you kick from the middle? Do you kick from one hash, the other hash? So whenever you come out, you'll already be waiting for him wherever he's going to kick from. So you're not in the middle and then have to go over there where he's at. So we take care of that before the game. So we're already prepared as to what's going on. Okay. You check the legality of the kicking tee, give him the ball, point the referee and tell him to wait till the referee signals before he kicks. You count all K players. Once you're done counting K players, you give a thumbs up to your line judge and you guys both go to the sideline. Okay. Now you go outside, chain gang side, and then make sure coaches and subs and everyone else is also in their boxes. Okay. And then make sure everyone else is 5 yards behind the kicking team's free kick line. Hold arm above head, ready to go. If ball falls, blows off, sound the whistle, go back, give him the instructions again, give him the ball, and let's go. If a foul happens, you administer the penalty. You also give the signal for offsides or whatever else, and you step off the penalty. The referee does not do that on kickoffs. The back judge will do that. And then you time 25 seconds to make sure he kicks within the right amount of time. Okay, that's pre-kick. Okay. Now, once the ball's kicked, okay, this is giving an example already of the ball being kicked and it's already coming up the field, and it gives you the officials nice triangles as to where they are looking, with the ball right now being at the 15-yard line and the referee is right behind the runner. Look at his angle. Nope, go ahead. Leave it on the picture there for a little while, Todd.
Oh, okay, gotcha, bro.
You got the line judge. The head linesman he's still at the 30-yard line. He hasn't moved. He's waiting for the ball to come towards him or up to him. And the umpire's the same way. You look at all the officials right now, they haven't moved where they're at, and you're seeing exactly what their vision is once it's kicked, what you're looking at. Okay. So you see the differences as to what officials are looking at and where their cones of vision is. Okay. Go ahead, Todd.
Well,
next slide, Todd.
I'm getting there. Yep, there it is.
All right. Now, after the ball's been kicked, now the referee, the kick goes down the middle. You start the clock once the kick is touched, other than first touching by the kicking team, or so on. Pick up your runner, follow until releasing to covering official. Okay, that's on a kick down the middle. On a deep kick while standing on the goal line, rule if it's a touchback. If the kick is caught inside the far 5-yard line and player is down in the end zone, you got to make sure that you need to rule whether the player's momentum took him into the end zone, and if that's the case, you mark it with a beanbag. So once you throw that beanbag, they're going to know that momentum carried him in, and then you'll know where to mark the ball or where to spot it. Okay. Now, if the kick is outside, opposite inbounds, you got to move cautiously with everything, guys. Don't take off. Like Todd said earlier, go slow before you go fast. Okay. You're the one behind. You got 4 other guys in front of you to pick up the runner as he goes forward. So you don't need to act like you're 20 years old anymore and take off. Just take your time, follow, and take care of that runner. Make sure everything is going okay till you get to the 20, and then 20 to 20, 25 yard line, you got your umpire and your head linesman that are going to take over. You're not going to stop. You're going to keep going and officiate, guys. Just because they get to a certain spot doesn't mean you stop and don't do anything else. You got to keep following and keep going, okay? You observe and you clean up, guys. You clean up behind or the side of and around the runner, okay? If it goes out of bounds nearer you, mark, throw the flag, guys. And a lot of times what you're seeing is officials are throwing their penalty marker in the air when the kick goes out of bounds. You need to throw your penalty marker where it went out of bounds. Okay. If it goes out at the 10-yard line, throw your flag to the 10-yard line, not straight up in the air, because we need to know where the ball went out in case happens to be a penalty and there needs to be an enforcement. Okay. So make sure of that. Okay, Todd. The umpire, if the kick goes to your side, you signal clock to start when the kick is legally touched. If it's nearer you, if it's around the 20-yard line, you should be signaling as well. And the referee will probably mirror you if it gets to you first and it's one of your up receivers that touches the ball. Okay. You pick up the runner, follow along the sideline. Once the ball becomes dead, sound the whistle, give your timeout signal. If the kick goes out of bounds, of course, you flag it where it went out of bounds. And same as the referee and everyone else, move slowly and cautiously with the play along the sideline. Try to stay outside the sideline and not in the field of play. Observe all the action or any other player in the vicinity of the runner. Okay. So more often than not, the referee is going to have the runner behind him. So you got to see anything else that's coming near him, because that's where you're going to get your blocks in the back and your clips and everything else. Okay. So maintain your position so your coverage of your sideline remains at all times. Don't give up that sideline, so you're able to rule where he steps out of bounds and so forth. Okay. If it goes out of bounds, like I said earlier, throw your flag where it goes out of bounds. Okay. Head linesman pretty much got the same thing. If the kick goes to them, you signal the clock if it's one of the up backs, and you do the same thing as the umpire. You follow that runner along the sideline. Ball becomes dead. You do the same, sound the whistle, timeout signal, kill the play. You got to be alert for first touching. If it goes, you get, like somebody put in the chat, on a pop-up kick, okay, or a kick that happens to bounce over that first line of receivers. You got to make sure if they get there and they touch it, you got to make sure you spot it with a beanbag if it gets close to you. And then if it goes out of bounds, same thing with the penalty marker, drop it where it goes out of bounds. And if it's untouched, then of course you drop it right there, because then it's going to be interesting, because if it goes out of bounds, they could take it at the 35. It goes out at the 40. They could take it at the 40. So you got to be very, very sure where that ball goes out of bounds, because that's going to be a determining factor as to where that team is going to take the ball. Or they may also say, I want the ball re-kicked. So you got to make sure you know exactly where all that happens. Okay, Todd. Okay, you also, a couple of other things for the head linesman. There's a few more. You got to observe the legal blocks, action away from the ball when you're not covering the runner. If a kick goes opposite, goes to the umpire's side or to the press box side, that's where you're going to be looking and widen that vision to see for blocks in the back, clips, or anything of that nature, which gives you a better view, since you're not looking more at the runner because he's opposite you. Okay. And move cautiously with the runner along the sideline. Just make sure you keep that vision. Okay. And always make sure you keep your eyes on people around the runner. Okay. Line judge, You got to be alert for first touching by the kicking team. Mark that with the beanbag. If it's before 10 yards, make sure you mark it. And of course, you'll take it from there once that happens. You watch the initial blocks in your area. Got to make sure that they just don't go try to take somebody's head off. And it makes it a little bit easier now when you have 4 on each side of the kicker. Before they used to line up and load up a side when they used to onside kick, and they used to go head hunt. Okay. Yes, you're right, Sean. The receiving team can take it at the out of bounds spot. Yes. Okay. If the ball becomes dead in your area, sound the whistle, give the timeout signal. That pretty much goes for everybody. Mark the spot where the kick goes out of bounds on your side of the field with the penalty marker if untouched, in bounds by R. After the ball has gone downfield, you move deliberately along the sideline in that direction while watching for falls away from the ball and cover 15 yards down the sideline. Okay. Be in position to take over coverage of runner in your area on a long run. So you're going to be taking over from the umpire if it comes to your side. Okay. Kick opposite side of the field. You're going to do exactly what the head linesman. You got to move cautiously and observe everything, widen your vision, and check for those illegal blocks and so forth. Okay, Todd. Okay, now your back judge. You got to be alert for first touching by kickers. Mark the spot. Be alert for a kick which does not cross R's free kick line. If there's a penalty for a foul before the kick ends requiring a re-kick, administer the penalty and place the ball ready for play. You give the signal of the penalty, you walk it off, and we start all over again. Okay. You mark out of bounds spot if it goes out of bounds, same as everyone else. You watch all the initial blocks by players near the R's free kick line and the action against kicker and holder. Well, not holder, but kicker. And you cover to the opposite 45-yard line. Okay, after the ball has gone downfield, the biggest difference with the back judge is you're going to move to the center of the field. You're not going to stay on the sideline, and you move downfield no more than 10 to 15 yards while maintaining inside out coverage. Take responsibility for K's goal line, and then you got to be in position to take over coverage of a runner in your area on a long return. And then, of course, you're observing all legal blocks and action away from the ball. Bottom line, guys, the main thing is you got to make sure your vision is wide. Okay. And Todd made a great point earlier about those kids with those intentions. So you got to know and have game awareness as to what's the score. Do they need the ball back, or are they getting their tails whipped and they're just mad and they want to take it out on somebody? This is where bad things happen on kickoffs, guys. So this is where you can't afford to take a play off, especially on kickoff returns. You can't take plays off, guys. This is where you're needed the most, because this is where the craziest things happen. And of course, coaches are going to say, oh, you missed this, you missed that. Yeah, there's 5 of you out there, and yeah, you're looking at an area and you might miss something. Don't get me wrong. You will miss something. We're not perfect, but with 5 guys looking at if their vision is where it needs to be, we're going to catch a lot of it. I'm not saying we're going to catch all of it, but we will probably see most of it, hopefully, but no way can you see everything. So guys, just make sure you stay focused on kickoff and kickoff return, because you know what? This sets the tone for the game. If it's the opening kickoff of the game or the second half, it sets the tone, guys. So you got to be on top of your game. And yes, Robert, you're right. Clean up the bad intentions early. And if you do that early, guys, it makes the game run a lot smoother, and you probably won't have to worry about that later on in the game. So just be focused on kickoff and kickoff return. And I'll tell you what, if everything goes well on these, when you start off the game with all this stuff, it makes a great start for the game.
Yeah, good job, Leonard. Thank you, guys. We're going to move forward, and we're going to go on with Evan Baker. He's going to talk a little bit about punt and punt return mechanics and keys. All you, Evan.
Hello. Okay, so we have punt and punt return. Slightly different, obviously, than what Leonard just talked about, due to the fact that majority of the time we're getting ready for a punt, the team has 40 seconds. Usually it's fourth down, they're running guys on and off the field. So we have to be prepared in our spots and ready to go for them to punt the ball. Now, of course, it's chart's a little bit different, but it's pretty similar where the line judge, the head linesman, the umpire. In our mechanics, majority of the time, back judge probably in between the two back receivers. But the other positions are pretty much pretty similar to a regular scrimmage play. Next one, Todd. These, and also shows a little bit of our coverage areas where we're looking. Like I said, it's very similar to a scrimmage play, other than the fact that the ball is being kicked. Go ahead,
I
Todd.
think the one thing that may be a little bit different than normal, we got to remember that our line judge will kind of cheat a little bit once we get these guys set. They want to cheat so they can kind of help the back judge on that flow coming this way, especially if he's on the opposite numbers, cheating downfield a little bit to help out as well.
Right, and we'll talk about the line judge's responsibility in a minute, but he's usually going right at the snap, so going to help there. And here's some other coverage areas for each position, especially when the ball is being caught, what the back judge is looking for, what everybody else is looking for in their area. So the next slide, basically we're going to go into positions. Oh, there's another one. Okay. Going to the sideline area, what we're doing, what we're looking when it's going away from us, what we're doing on the backside. Are we just standing around? Are we just taking the play off? Or are we looking for those unnecessary fouls that do occur from time to time? Okay, so basically by position, kind of the coverage area keys, referee, we know, usually in both 4 and 5 man crews, referees usually position 3 to 5 yards outside the tight end and 2 to 3 yards behind the punter. I know some white hats sometimes like to get a little bit farther out than that just to be able to see a little bit better. But some of their key points are allows the referee to view the snap as well as the action around the kicker before, during, and after the kick. Referee must be ready to move in the appropriate direction in case of an errant snap or blocked kick. Once the kick is away, takes a quick look to see the flight of the ball. If the kick goes out of bounds, then be prepared to make eye contact with the covering official, chop downward, telling them where to halt. If the receiver has a return, move slowly downfield in case runner breaks along return. And then also on block kicks, be prepared to rule on the recovery. Umpire positioning, of course, about 4 to 7 yards deep and favoring the line judge sideline. Basically, they're watching for snap infractions, and favoring the line judge sideline allows line judge to move downfield immediately at the snap. They also move toward the line at the snap. Once both teams have run past, pivot and move slowly downfield and observe the action in front of the runner. Head linesman, line judge, basically position the same as they would be on a regular scrimmage play. On a 4-man crew, the starting position, obviously, of the line judge is 7 to 10 yards from the sideline and in front of the receiver, so they're back. Sometimes the referee will tend to move towards the line judge side in a 4-man crew. The head linesman observes the initial charge and remains on the line until the kick crosses the neutral zone. Very important, because he's there to see if there's any movement and make sure the kick does cross the neutral zone. 5-man crew, line judge releases on the snap, observes action on the side of the field between the neutral zone and the receivers. Both wing officials are responsible for their sideline from end line to end line and for covering the runner when the return is to their area. If the run is to the opposite sideline, clean up behind the play like we talked about a while ago. Very important. Back judge, of course, your position 10 yards wider than and 2 to 3 yards behind the deepest receiver on the wide side of the field. If there's two, obviously we kind of want to be in between them, but at the same time, having a right angle that we can see what's going on in front of us. Of course, be responsible for all the deep receivers, must beanbag the spot where the kick ends, judges the validity of any fair catch, which we'll talk about here in a minute, has coverage responsibilities until the runner breaks into the sideline, has coverage responsibility up the middle until the umpire takes over. One thing also that we need to think about is we need to look at what's going to be, who's the first threat, being able to watch the receiver and then who's coming to tackle him. Sometimes that's when we sometimes miss those blindside blocks in the corner of our eye. Couple things to remember. First, touching. This does happen for punts. When a member of the kicking team touches a scrimmage kick between the goal lines and beyond the neutral zone, before it is touched by a member of the receiving team and before the ball comes to rest. First touching does not cause the ball to become dead. Okay. Fair catch. Any receiver may signal for a fair catch while any kick is in flight. Any receiver who gives a valid or invalid fair catch is prohibited from blocking until the kick has ended. This is a 15-yard penalty. If a receiver gives a valid fair catch signal and catches a ball beyond the neutral zone, the ball becomes dead. Only the receiver who gives the valid fair catch signal is afforded the protection. If the catch is made by another receiver, he is not afforded the protection, but the ball becomes dead. No receiver may advance the ball after a fair catch. Now, this is a little bit tricky in terms of fair catch signals and what is a good fair catch signal, which we'll talk about in the next slide. Valid fair catch signal is the extending and lateral waving of the arm at full arm's length above the head. Now, this is something I know the crews I've been working on and other crews I've been watching, sometimes they'll talk in pregame and go try to find out who the receivers are going to be for punts and talk to them and say, hey, we need to get your arm way up above your head if you're going to have a fair catch. Sometimes we do get to do that. Sometimes we have to do it during the game when we're running back there to get before the punt and tell our guy, hey, if they're listening, tell them, hey, you need to get your hand way above your head, your arm way above your head if you're going to call fair catch. So very important to talk to the player before this does occur. Then an invalid fair catch is any signal by a receiver before the kick is caught or recovered that does not meet the requirements of a valid signal, or after the kick has touched a receiver or after the kick has touched the ground. So invalid fair catch signal, I think it's pretty rare. I've had this situation in a game before a year ago or so, and the kid had the arm above his head a little bit, but he was claiming that he was pointing at his other guys and the blockers. To me, from my location, I was looking at it and it looked like he had his head kind of given somewhat of a fair catch signal to make the defenders slow down. And I immediately called it dead. And the head coach for that team wasn't very happy until we looked at the film later on. So something to think about. In fact, and then there's also a legal fair catch. Something we don't necessarily think about all the time either is any signal by a runner after the kick has been caught or after the kick has been recovered. So this is a illegal signal after they've already caught the ball. Then we also have kick catch interference, KCI. While any scrimmage kick is in flight beyond the neutral zone to the receiver's goal line, K shall not touch the ball or the receiver unless blocked into the ball or the receiver or to ward off a blocker. They can't obstruct the R's path to the ball. This prohibition applies even when no fair catch signal is given, but it does not apply after a scrimmage kick has been touched by a receiver who was clearly beyond the neutral zone at the time of the touching. The exception: K may catch, touch, muff, or bat a scrimmage kick in flight beyond the neutral zone if no player or receiver is in position to catch the ball. So we have to, that's going to be a judgment call, and if we feel that the receiver can make a catch on the ball. Ruling: R may accept the results of the play and awarded fair catch after enforcement of a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot of the foul, or a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot and replay the down. Next, or Todd. Couple last few things. Roughing the snapper. This is something the umpire has to really watch. A defensive player shall not charge directly into the snapper when the offensive team is in a scrimmage kick formation. Basically, the snappers nowadays, they're down, they're looking down the whole time. If they get hit or roughed prior to them pulling their head up into a football move, then that's usually roughing the snapper. Roughing the punter. Defensive player shall not neither run into the kicker nor holder, which is contact that displaces the kicker or holder, without roughing, nor block, tackle, or charge into the kicker of a scrimmage kick, other than when contact is avoidable, the defense touches the kick near the kicker, contact is slight and partially caused by the movement of the kicker, or the receiver being blocked into the kicker. Both are 15-yard penalties and an automatic first down because they are roughing penalties. And that is punt and punt return.
All right, now we've run back the punt and we've scored, and Dwayne's going to come in and talk a little bit about our point after attempts and field goals that are outside the 20. All right, Dwayne, here we go, buddy.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and start with the point after attempt, and going back to kind of what Todd said at the first of the meeting, we need to really watch everything in our area. Even when the kick is over, keep watching for anything to happen, because I've noticed on point after attempts, for sure, there's always a team that just gave up a score. It's going to be unhappy. The other team's going to be happy because they did score. So I've seen a lot of, you guys probably know it too, or noticed it before in your games. There's a lot of stuff can happen after a pat because there's a lot of talking sometimes going on. It seems like most of our most skirmishes we've ever had have been after a point after attempt for some reason. But with that said, what is over things, where we line up, what to kind of look for on a point after attempt. So what we've been doing down here, as far as the referee, I know I think the mechanics book says to get about 2 or 3 yards kind of behind the kicker, and I believe 3 to 5 yards to the side. We've actually been getting further out towards the numbers. And if you want to, Todd, you can go to that. We have that slide, I think, showing the position. See how on the left side, the white hat, he's actually at the top of the numbers over there. And the reason we've been doing that is because, remember, the wing official has vacated that sideline, has gone under the goalpost. So we want to make sure we have that sideline covered, but the white hat can still see the kicker and holder with plain view. It's very important, as you know, the first thing I'm going to do as a white hat, I want to check where the holder's knee is, because as we all know, the holder, once he receives the ball, if his knee's on the ground, he cannot pitch it back to the kicker like we used to do in the old days. He can do a lot of things. He can get up and run with it. He can get up and throw it. He can get up for a bad snap, go back to his knee. But remember, he cannot pitch it back to the kicker if his knee's on the ground. So we got to watch that for sure. I've even had them come up in a game before and tell me, they simply say, my knee's going to be off the ground. I've actually had them do that. So we need to make, that's a key point to start with. Now, the white hat, when the kick is made, of course, if it's going to be a fake or busted play, you got to be able to cover that side of the sideline and be ready for it. But once the kick is made, you need to stick with the kicker and holder to make sure there's no roughing. If the kicker holder is hit, you got to determine if there was a tip or partially blocked kick, or if he was blocked into the kicker holder, which would be no foul at all. So that's what mainly the white hat's going to watch for on the point after attempt. Now, as far as if a kick is blocked, remember on a PAT, the ball becomes dead. The kicking team cannot recover it, run it in for 2 points, and the receiving team or defensive team, remember, they can't pick the ball up and return it for 2 points. So you need to blow the whistle quick if it's a block kick behind the line of scrimmage, because sure enough, if someone picks the ball up, he's going to end up getting tackled probably. So again, we got to be careful and referee the whole play to the end. Now, as far as the umpire is usually going to be, I believe it's 4 to 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He's going to be watching for the blocking, holding, maybe someone trying to leap over the pile. He's also going to be doing some preventing officiating before the play, telling everybody to stay off the snapper. Because remember, we can't hit the snapper on a kick like that until he's become a regular player. So the umpire, I think what most of the time we've been doing is shading a little bit to the same side as the referee. I'm not for sure. I'm not that really familiar with the umpire, but he's got to come up to the goal line on a PAT attempt, especially if it's a fake or a busted play, because he's going to have a lot of the goal line to himself. Okay, as far as the wingman that stays on the line of scrimmage, which this would be on the far right-hand side. Go back to that other one, Todd. Yeah, on the far right-hand side over there, he's got, remember, the whole line, and he's going to be responsible for instance, encroachment, making sure there's enough men on the line of scrimmage, not having like 5 in the backfield. So he's pretty much got the whole line of scrimmage. Now, you have to remember, if it's a busted play or even a fake, it turns in really to a normal play for the wingman. He's going to maybe have to cover a pass. He's going to have to watch maybe where the passer is in case he crosses a line of scrimmage. Or if it's a running play, he's going to have to get behind the runner, get behind him, follow him to the end zone. But he needs to be he's got to be at the goal line. The goal line is the most important line to cover when it comes to that. Because remember, on this PAT, it's only from the 3 or so. So you got to be going to the goal line on it. Underneath, you can see, okay, the wingman that is facing the back of the referee will go under the goalpost along, of course, with the back judge. And you'll have to, again, if it's a normal kick, you're going to be responsible for your upright there to go, whether it goes inside or outside. Remember, it cannot go over the goalpost. It has to go inside the goalpost. I know I've heard a lot of people say, you'll hear it on TV or hear fans saying, well, it went over the upright. It has to go inside the upright. And the main thing is to, again, on a busted play or a fake, you've got that back edge. The back edge is the end zone. You need to drift toward the sideline, toward the pylon, be ready for a pass or anything, just like if you're another back judge, in other words. Now, on the kick, the back judge usually has his upright, and I don't know how you guys do it, but we both are kind of responsible for the crossbar. It says in the mechanics book, really the back judge is responsible for the crossbar, but really both of you can be, because both of you need to get a good read on it. The most important thing is, no matter what the kick is, even if I know it's good and it's close to my upright, I do not want to give a signal until I look at my other official, because it would be terrible. Like these guys here, you see them come out and giving a good signal to their stands. We don't want to come out all of a sudden, one guy gives a good signal, one guy a bad signal. Now that would be the Three Stooges for sure. We got to communicate with each other to make sure we have the right call on it before we give any signal. We got to make good communication there. And then of course the referee will get that signal once he's quit watching the kicker and holder, or any kind of activity going on around him. He'll get the signal from them and relay it to the press box from what these two guys showed. Really, that's really it for point after attempt. When it comes to the field goal part of it, most everything's pretty much the same. The coverages are about the same. It's just that if we have a field goal further out, not like a point after attempt, but let's say even 40 yards, 30 yards, it's real important to know that if the ball crosses the goal line or not. We have to make sure if the ball is going to be short, it really takes pretty much the same as a punt. Because it's still a live ball, someone can pick it up and run it with it from the offensive team. We got to make sure we cover it just the same. So that's really the main thing on field goal, is if it doesn't reach the goal line, it's pretty much the same as a scrimmage kick or a punt. We got to be able to mark it where it goes out of bounds. We have to for sure make sure if it goes into the end zone, we got to make sure all that takes place and be ready to rule on it. Another big key from a punt to a field goal is if the field goal is blocked. We got to make a mental note in our head when they're fixing to line up for a field goal. Whatever we do, we don't want to blow the whistle if it's blocked and the ball is rolling around behind the line of scrimmage, because in a punt we would do that. But in a field goal, it's a live ball. The receiving team, of course, can pick it up, run for first down, run for touchdown. The team on defense can pick it up and they can advance it. But we got to take our time and hold our whistle. That's why when we first start lining up for a field goal or a punt, we got to make sure what we're doing. Is it a punt or is it a field goal? What am I going to do if the kick is blocked behind the line of scrimmage? What if it's tipped and it goes past the line of scrimmage? We got to be aware of all those situations that can happen and be ready to rule on it, like who touches what. I remember, heck, most of you guys are probably too young to even remember it. It was years and years ago. It was a Cowboy game. Remember the Leon Lett play on Thanksgiving Day when I think there was a attempted field goal by the Miami Dolphins. The ball was rolling down about the 10 or 15 yard line. Leon Lett touches it. The Dolphins fall on it because it's a live ball. They kick a field goal to win the game. We got to be able to rule on things like that. So that's really the main thing, is just be aware and just make double sure that when the play is over, we got to really watch them, because that's when, again, tempers could be flaring, especially if the team that got scored on is getting blown out. Just like any play, we got to really watch the whole thing until they clear it and go to the sidelines and be aware of it.
A good thing, Dwayne, as well, is, that communication piece is amongst our officials. If you have O2Os or, on-field communication, official to official communications, just say, hey, live ball all the way through, just to remind everybody. I think that's really a good thing to do.
The radios do help that, because you could be far apart. And like you said, we could tell each other, amount that it's a live ball if there's a block, if it's behind the line of scrimmage. That does make it easier to remind people for that. But it's really all I've got. Does anybody have any questions on it or anything?
You know, there's some things that we've got to talk about. You know, coaches are getting real creative with formations, and I know we didn't have this picture up with Evan's piece, but you know, coaches are getting real creative in their kicking games, and you'll notice this is a punt, folks, that's set up, and so making sure that you are counting guys on lines and understanding who's where and who was in the backfield and everything like that. So that's a big time key for both the umpire and both wings and the white hat to be ready for that, to make sure that you understand your responsibilities and legalities of formation. And so that was the majority of all of our slides, guys. I'm going to stop sharing. And if you've got questions that we've got, anything, I haven't looked at it.
Shane,
Anybody else?
Shane, you've had your hand up for a while. If you want to lower your hand and unmute.
Evan, earlier when you were talking about the umpire sliding over to the line judge side when the line judge left, we already have the referee out there, and the referee is responsible for that sideline up until the line judge gets over. Why would you put the referee and the umpire on the same side?
That's a good.
I don't think he really shades. He doesn't go near as far over as
Right.
the referee, but he maybe shades that side of the center a little bit, maybe even within the tight end side or whatever. But he doesn't get near as far out as where the white hat's going to be. And they may be lined up in the middle. They just want to get on. They want to get not really directly in the middle in case the ball is low and hits them. But I know we've shaded over one way or another just a little bit.
On there, we're saying in the middle.
You're cutting out, Shane.
Yeah, your
Yeah, Shane, I can't
audio
hear
is
you.
really bad.
Sorry, I'm closer. Can you hear me better?
No, it sounds like you're talking through a robot voice or something.
It's because it's the computer.
Shane, while you get your audio adjusted, I wanted to read a question that's in the chat. Is it roughing the snapper if our player is lined up in the A gap and makes contact with the snapper, and there is immediate K player next to the snapper, or does the R player have to be immediately in front of the snapper and make a contact with the snapper while his helmet is down?
And that's a good question, because the rule book basically states roughing the snapper, defensive player shall not charge directly into the snapper when the offensive team is in a scrimmage kick formation. Now, in other leagues like UIL or college, they can't even, any part of their body cannot be over the snapper. I think that's a little bit different for us. But I think we'd have to make a judgment call, because you got the snapper is down, his head's down looking through his legs. And does he have time to come up? Now, if he's blocked into him, it's probably a different story. But does he have time to come up and have a football move before he's being pancaked?
And that's more of a safety kind of call. You know what I mean? Obviously, the guy is a defenseless player at that point, and so running him over or any kind of intention in that point would definitely not be a good thing. So what else do we got?
One thing I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot to bring up one thing. Remember, on a field goal or PAT, you cannot bring just any ball in to kick it. You can't have a special ball to come in and kick it. Remember, you can only change balls at the start of a series. You can't change the balls during the point after attempt is part of the series of a scoring series. We've had a couple of coaches try that before, bring in a different ball for a field goal, actually. And I know Todd and you and I were doing a game last year together, and that was one of the questions from the coach before the game. Can we bring in a different ball for a field goal? And we told them no, it had to be at the start of a series. Now, if they wanted to kick a field goal on first down, they could do that, I'm assuming, but not on a third down or a fourth down. Is that true? It's got to be
Right.
on a new
Yes,
series.
that's a new series.
Okay.
Robert's got a great thing. You know, in pregame, we're out on the field and we're watching kids warm up. As an R, you should be watching, you know, is your quarterback a right-handed, left-handed thrower? Is your kicker right or left-footed? So you don't look foolish, because I know there's a couple times that I didn't check and I line up on the wrong side and I'm having to do the run of shame around to the backside and try to make sure that I'm covering from the right direction. So that's a great catch, Robert, as well. Beltran was asking about that formation. That was legitimately a punt formation in an undisclosed location that was probably about 60 miles from here in a UIL contest in Demet, Texas. And so you can tell that these coaches are going to get real creative with how they do that. So just be aware. Somebody else had a question?
Jared Story, go ahead and unmute.
Great presentation, everybody. But Dwayne, can you repeat the ruling on the extra point with the holder with his knee on the ground or not on the ground?
Yeah, what happens, remember, if the holder has his knee on the ground, he cannot pitch it back to the kicker. I remember the old days, they could pitch it like that.
Okay.
And it was legal.
Yeah,
But his knee has to be off of the ground before he can pitch it back. Now, he could actually catch the ball, rise up, and pitch it back.
Okay.
He could pass it. He can take off running. But if his knee's on the ground, it limits him to what he can do at that time when his knee is on the ground.
All right, cool.
He's pretty much, all he can do is hold the ball pretty much.
Yeah, so yeah, because from a coaching standpoint, when I was coaching, we'd run that. And
Right.
that was the one thing, because I tell my holder, you can keep your knee on the ground, but once you get it, you just got to lift it up just a tiny bit, flip it back,
Right.
perfectly legal. And it was always called illegal. So I wanted to make sure that that was clarified, that he can catch it on the ground with his knee on the ground and then lift up his knee to either flip,
Right.
run, pass, whatever. Cool. Thank you.
He just has to have his knee off the ground when he does that.
Thanks, Jared.
We still have teams try to run it. I don't know if they just don't. That rule, they used to do that a long time ago. We used to see them pitch it back to the kicker, but you got to be able to watch. You have to really watch for it, because all of a sudden you see him pitch the ball. I'm not going to know if he had his knee off the ground or not. Someone's going to be mad then if it happens. So I'm making a point of it to try to see what he does if he does pitch.
And I think with that, it's important during the pregame to ask, the coach, do you have special plays? Because I think that should be considered a special play. That way we are aware of it moving forward throughout the game. So.
All right, and there's a few questions in the chat. First, if a receiving player on a kickoff is out of bounds, touches the ball before it rolls out, would that still allow the ball to be placed at the 35 for the receiving team? And I know it says it happened in the NFL, but I know that rule may not apply.
Yeah. It's going to be a touchback. If the ball is never touched by the receiving team, it's going to be a touchback, and we're going to start off the 20. At that point, Eric.
So we said if the receiving player on a kickoff is out of bounds and touches the ball, does that?
Oh, I was on the further one down. Sorry.
Is he a player in the game and he just happened to go out of bounds, or is he a member that's not on the field at the time? Is he one of the 11?
Play, it doesn't matter.
Well, but is he one of the 11 or not? If he's out of bounds and the ball's touched, if it's at the 20-yard line, the ball's right there.
Player on the field, Leonard.
It would be down right there, and that's where he'll get the ball.
Right. He's straddling the line, in other words.
Yeah. If he touches at the 25-yard line, that's where they're going to get the ball.
There's actually some case plays in the case book referring to, there's one guy standing out of bounds and catches the ball. He's completely out of bounds. That's still a penalty on the kicking team because his whole body was out of bounds. The kick was out of bounds. There's a case play on that I noticed today on it. But if he's straddling the sideline it's out of bounds on the guy, the receiving, who catches the football. Then it'd be where, like you said, it'd be where the spot is.
Hey, Dwayne, isn't there a case play though that makes that illegal participation?
I think, well, I don't know if you're completely out of bounds. I guess you really could. I don't know why a guy would be completely out of bounds and catch the ball, because he would be out of the field of play. I guess when it gets down to it, you could call it illegal participation, but
Out and he comes back to the NFHS.
I don't.
Yeah, because the guy is out of bounds. The way
Right.
Ty put it is the guy is out of bounds, so it's out of bounds.
If the
I mean, it went
receiver,
out of bounds and nobody touched it inbounds
if
Correct.
the
at that point. So
if the receiver's backpedaling and happens to step on the sideline and touches the ball while that foot is on the sideline, that's the kickoff out of bounds.
Yeah,
Because- and that's going to be on the kicking team.
That is exactly correct.
gets these out of bounds.
But that's
Right.
not the same scenario.
Okay.
Well, as long as
Just like
there's one
we-
foot out of bounds, they're out of bounds. And then the ball touches anyone that's standing with a foot out of bounds, the ball's out of bounds. If it touches an official out of bounds, it's
Mhm.
out of bounds.
It's out of bounds. The guy is
That's
out
right.
of bounds. So the ball is
On the
out of
kicking
bounds.
team,
hmm
on the kicking team. And you're right,
So
that did
now the
happen in the
receiving-
NFL. It was a brilliant play.
Yeah, I'm
So now
checking
the rec-
on that because I know the question was specifically if he's straddling and he touches that ball while the
Mhm.
ball is still in bounds.
That makes it out of bounds. So
Mhm.
Right, but I thought that they hit one of that ruled as illegal participation to take that loophole out.
I think we should look for a case on that one, but my interpretation is that that's out of bounds on the kicking team.
iPhone has their
All,
hand up.
every time and all, and every,
Well,
and
I
every
don't-
time, period.
I don't know who iPhone is. It's somebody who didn't give us their name, but your hand is up. If your name is iPhone,
Yeah.
go ahead.
And you're not getting mean credit
And you may not even know your hand is up.
because we don't know who you are.
And I'm sorry that your name is iPhone. That's unfortunate.
Yeah. Well,
All right.
parents have a good
iPhone,
sense
I'm
of
lowering
humor.
your hand because you don't know your question or we don't know who you are. All right.
Okay.
So if a field goal is missed from inside the 20, goes into the end zone, not touched by R, is that a touchback or does it take over from where the ball was kicked?
They're all touchbacks.
hmm
All right.
Just like we said earlier, it's a touchback.
This isn't the NFL.
Nope.
Okay, and I'm going to read this question and then I'm going to say this before I read this question. It's
Oh, no.
offside and onside. There's no S on the end of either of them. And it's a pet peeve when I watch football games on Saturdays, Sundays, and listen to people on Friday nights. It's onside, it's offside. Just a pet peeve. So anyway, on an onside kick in the mechanics book, it states the U is on the kicking line and the line judge is on the 50. Why are we not following this?
The image we had the U on that. So, I mean, I know from the Get It Right, that's what we got the image from. So,
As an umpire, we
The
jump.
U
over.
is there.
Yeah, as the
Yeah.
umpire, we jump over. But
Right.
first of all, if J.E. Wells is on, he would tell you grammatically, there is no such thing as an onside kick. It's a short kick. I'm just telling you that.
And in no circumstances it onside,
Awesome.
just say.
It's not onside, it's short kick.
Let's see, looking through this. There's a lot of conversation.
And I did find the casebook reference in regards to that straddle
Mhm.
Oh,
line.
yeah, I just got to that. 962 situation C.
Yeah,
Thanks,
Here-
Jason.
here's what it says. It says K1 free kicks the ball towards the sideline. R1 runs to a sideline and intentionally steps out of bounds. While R1 is still out of bounds, he intentionally touches the ball as it nears the sideline. Ball is declared dead by the covering official, and the ruling on that is illegal participation by R1.
Richard Beltran, go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, this is actually Robert Beltran from Las Cruces.
Sorry, it says
I have a
Richard. I'm just reading what it says on the screen. My fault.
They're interchangeable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, at least your name is an
That's-
iPhone.
The
Mine
Beltran
knows
brothers.
I have a question about the scrimmage kicks, about the umpire position and it says in the umpire, there's an option on the umpire position that the umpire may line up on the team K's backfield opposite the referee and at the same depth and width as the referee on a long return in the field is divided in half longitudinally. Is that all legal in NMA?
I think that's something that we've all wanted to
Agree with
discuss
you.
for a while, is moving the umpire to the backfield.
And that's more of a safety issue for those guys.
It says in the mechanics books that we do have that option, but I'm thinking, is it legal?
Your white hat. Yeah, your white hat would determine, hey, I'm going to move my umpire opposite me and be able to protect him and to utilize him. That's a crew decision because that's what it says. It's an option. And so as a white hat, so you see what I'm saying? So if your white hat says we're going to keep the umpire, 7 yards past the snapper, then we're going to keep him there. But I've brought my U over to the opposite side a couple times, and it's really not much different. But I also want to protect that snapper too if there's a piece on that. If you see a lot of pressure.
We actually do that on the Roswell crews, unless it's like a short yardage situation. Then we leave the umpire where it's at. Like if it's 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, we'll leave the umpire there. But if it's like 4th and 10, 4th and 15, we've been moving the umpire to the backfield with the white hat.
Hey, all I want to say is understand this. When you change your position, you change your perspective. And whether you're behind the line of scrimmage or facing the ball, it's going to be different. So understand that. Yes, there's a safety issue that you deal with as an umpire being in the backfield with the referee, but you're also getting a different look. So,
oh yeah, absolutely, Charlie. I mean, that's for sure. Everything changes when you change location. Especially when you're back there. It's like being a C in the CFO. It changes your perspective. All right, guys. Anything else before we?
Hey, I want to thank you guys in the Southeast. That was a nice presentation. I enjoyed it.
Thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Yeah, that was fun.
Appreciate it. Anything else? Guys?
Good night, guys.
Great job.
Good night. I don't know what else to do but say see y'all later. I don't care. You don't have to go home, but you got to get up out of this Zoom. All right. So do what you need to do.
Everybody be safe.
Be on the field.
I think there's only one individual in this meeting that has to show up to the next meeting. So, or maybe 2 or 3.
There we go.
Velasquez.
I'm going to go to my next meeting, man. So
thank you, everybody.
y'all take care.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Leonard, Dwayne.
Are you calling me out, Nate?
I was.
Yes, you are.
You and David are the only track gurus that we
You're
know.
stuck with us. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Bye.